Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on the rear suspension a little bit more. After I set the body on it to get an idea of what it was going to look like, I noticed pretty quick that we had a lot of suspension droop in the back. I think it was close to almost 2 inches from where I want the car to sit. I kind of want the ass to sit up in the air a little bit, give it that old school look. And I think what we can do is make another set of mounting points for the coilovers and just move it in maybe an inch or two, or I should say to the outside towards the frame rail on each side. And another issue I need to address is how I have the coilovers mounted to the spindles themselves. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So for the C4 Corvette stuff, a lot of people who build hot rods used to use this type of suspension back in the day because it is a good width for a lot of classics, and it's actually pretty easy to install. So there are a few companies out there that make this same style of plate to use as a mount for the coilover because there's not a real suitable other location on the spindle to mount it. But as you can see, since I've drilled holes in mine to make it adjustable, I'm having issues with the plate bending. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but that also probably has a lot to do with the angle of the coilover as well. But we're gonna go ahead and weld some 3/16 or 1/4 inch steel onto there to kind of make it a little bit stronger and not want to flex like that. And that's probably going to be about all we'll be able to get done today, but let's get started. Here's a better look at our horribly bent coilover mounting system. Not really worried about the bent part. We'll just go ahead and clamp it down when we come up with a couple of pieces to weld on here. I think what I'm going to do is create a paper template that welds to the outside edge of this end of the flange. And ideally I'd like to come up a little bit past the first main bolt here, just to give it as much structural integrity as I can. And then on this side, I'll probably I might just try and run a straight piece and come right in front of the bolts here. Or I may go around the outside. I gotta figure that out still. But first things first, we're gonna clean off all the rust on these things so that they're ready to weld. Surface is all prepped in the areas I'm gonna need it to be, and next thing I'm gonna do real quick is cut off these this top part here. These were actually originally designed for my gray BMW Evette because it also has a C4 independent rear suspension in the back, and they were going to be a ear to mount a sway bar to, but I don't need that on this car, so we're just going to get rid of it. And then I think I've got some 1/4 inch by 2 flat bar, and I use it as a really long ruler. It's like 18 feet long, but I think I'm just going to cut maybe a foot off of that and use it to make the supports for this, because that'll be the quickest and easiest way to go without having to cut more metal off of my sheet. Alright, so I cut a 14-inch piece of my 1/4 inch by 2 flat stock, and what I'm going to do now is cut it into 2 strips of 1 inch, and that should give me enough to do a strip here, a strip on this side, and 2 strips for the other one as well. And I'm fairly certain that a 1 inch width should be plenty to create enough rigidness for our application. So the way I'm going to cut this is on my portaband. All right, here's our 4 pieces. Longer one is going to go to the outside here, and I'm going to bend it to follow that angle. And then the shorter one is just going to go like that. And that should hopefully support our bracket as much as we need. So I'm going to clean these up on the belt sander and get ready to weld this thing together. Got our plates all cleaned up and bent them both up as well. Now with this one, I over bent it slightly, and I figured I'd just show you guys a quick fix for that. And what I like to do is just grab the piece, grab my 2-pound sledge, come over here to my anvil or my vise, you know, and put the peak where the bend is right in the middle, and just give it one good whack and check it. And then if it's still too much, just give it one more. And I think that should be pretty close. Let's see. Nope, didn't hit it hard enough. We'll do one more. And there it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and get ready to weld these things. We'll start with the inside one to kind of try and straighten the plate out as much as we can before we proceed to this edge one, because the edge one I'm going to actually create a little joint like that to fill in, because I like doing those ones better. So let's get started here. I think we got it flattened out pretty well with 3 of these vice grip clamps, and now we're just going to worry about making sure that we have enough room to move our bracket up and down along our adjuster here, and that should do it. I think if we tack weld it right about there, we should be all right. All right, first plate's done. I'll be honest, I probably should have thought a little bit ahead and maybe rounded off these corners just to make it look better, even though it's under the car. I still may do that, probably with a grinder, but here's that outside joint. Came out really nice. You can see why I like doing them. The most important part about welding is having some place for the filler to go if you want your weld to look nice anyways. And these joints do it just perfectly. So let's get on to the next one. All right, I got everything back installed, and we're up to a ride height that I think is going to settle perfectly once we do lower the body on. But unfortunately, as I like bounce up and down on the frame, I do see that the bracket still gets a little bit of twist in it right above where I finished welding on my strengthening gusset, I guess you could call it there. So it's not flexing nearly as much as it was, but it does deflect a little bit. I don't know if I should be concerned about it or not, but I may have to revisit this. All right, so what I ended up doing, I just couldn't call it quits at the end of the night, leaving it half finished like that. And so I pulled them off, and I lengthened the centerpiece all the way to the top, and I'm hoping that that's going to fix our issue. If not, we might have to go back to the drawing board, but I got hope. So, and with that, I'm gonna call it a night. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. What's up, everyone? So today I'm gonna be working on getting the fuel tank mounted. It was already mounted to the body. That's the way that this one comes designed to mount, and it's pretty nice because it gets you the most ground clearance. But once I installed my fuel tank level sender, I realized that I can't mount it to the floor because the part that you attach the wire to sticks up higher than everything else, and it would like ground out on the floor. So what I'm gonna do is mount the fuel tank to the frame. And another reason that I'm doing that is because I'm gonna have to take this body off every time that I want to remove the rear wheels. So if the fuel tank was attached to the body, it would be a major pain in the ass with the line, disconnecting it, and just, you know, it would drain the tank. So like I was saying, if I had to disconnect the fuel supply line, which is down here at the lowest part of the tank, every time that I wanted to remove the body, the whole tank would have to drain. So it's going to be a better idea just to leave it attached to the frame, even though it's going to cost us a little bit of ground clearance. My basic idea for the brackets, just going to come off of the frame. It's going to be a fairly simple idea, and there'll be an individual bracket for each hole that I have here. But let's get some paper cut up and see what we come up with. All right, here's the template I've come up with, and it's just going to come off of the frame here, and obviously there will be another piece coming off of here connecting to another one of these, but that's the basic idea for the mounts. So we're gonna cut out about eight of these, maybe 6, because the one that's gonna be here is gonna be a different shape. So we'll cut out 6, and actually, we'll cut out 4, and then we'll go from there. Here's our 4 templates traced onto the metal. And we'll just throw it into the chop off, cut off wheel. Okay, here's our 4 pieces. Now we can go ahead and clean them up a little bit, mock them up, and figure out what our other pieces are gonna look like. All right, well, I kind of jumped ahead and went ahead and just knocked these things out. And I gotta say, I was a little uncertain how it was gonna turn out at first. I might have overcomplicated it. I could have probably just like welded some angle iron onto the frame or whatever, but it came out pretty nice, and the gas tank fits perfectly. I'm gonna lower the car down onto it and make sure everything clears, and we'll be moving on to the next thing. Took a minute to go ahead and install the fuel lines. Our supply comes from down there, as I showed you earlier. Our return is gonna go here. We're waiting on a fitting for that. And lines just come out and run to the outside of the frame rails. So that's the easiest place for them to go. And connects up right there. So it's one more step closer. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the body down now and make sure that the fuel tank is good to go, and continue on with our firewall.